Hey, what is going on, guys? In this video today, we're going to be discussing a debate that's suddenly become very common in the controller Fortnite community, linear versus exponential. On the day I'm releasing this video, legacy aim assist and settings should totally be out of Fortnite, gone forever, never coming back. So that means us console and controller Fortnite players are forced to choose between either linear or Expo. If you're a legacy player specifically, that may be a choice that you're really struggling with, especially because there are a few major misconceptions out there regarding the difference between those two options. And even if you're someone who already has been on linear or Expo for a while, I still think this video is worth watching because I may say something that changes your mind. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Alright, so I want to start this video off by just very quickly explaining the difference between linear and exponential, and hopefully this explanation will also disprove some of the biggest pieces of false information spread about linear versus Expo. So on the surface, it's actually a fairly simple concept that I've discussed many times before. With linear, you have the option to have full control over how much aim acceleration you want while aiming. And that term aim acceleration, in case you're unaware, basically refers to the fact that as you move your thumbstick to move your crosshair, it won't start out going full speed right away. So let's say you use 50% sensitivity. With aim acceleration, for the first certain amount of milliseconds, you'd be moving at 10% sensitivity, then you'd go to 20, 30, until eventually you reach that 50% mark. In general, aim acceleration is viewed as a negative thing, so a lot of people like the fact that if you set your look dampening time to 0 with linear, you'll have no aim acceleration whatsoever. And that right there is where a very common misconception lies regarding Expo. I've seen multiple different people say, smart people too, that if you use Expo but put look dampening time to 0, that'll eliminate all aim acceleration and basically make it the same thing as linear. Let me tell you, that is not true at all, and I'll even show clips in the background to prove it. In the first clip, you'll see me on Exponential with a 0.00 second look dampening time and relatively normal sensitivity values, and then when I move my thumbstick very lightly, you can see my crosshair moving incredibly slowly, nowhere near the full sensitivity values I'm using, and it increases as I put more pressure on the thumbstick. That's textbook aim acceleration right there, no way to debate it. But then when I switch to linear with a 0.0 second look dampening time, no matter how little I move my crosshair, it moves at the full speed of my sensitivity. So look dampening time doesn't single-handedly control your amount of aim acceleration, it simply modifies the base amount of aim accel that the input curve has. Another huge misconception about linear versus Expo, and this one is even more common, is that either linear has stronger aim assist than Expo or vice versa. I've actually heard it both ways. I can understand what leads people to believe that, but it's just blatantly untrue. Linear and exponential are only input curves, nothing more. In no way do they increase or decrease the strength of aim assist that you get while playing. However, the reason why people think that is because each input curve has its own unique strengths and weaknesses, so if you only focus on the strengths, you'll kind of trick your mind into thinking the actual strength of the aim assist is increased when it really isn't. So all of that is really crucial to know if you want to truly understand the difference between linear and Expo, and it's crazy how many people unknowingly spread false information regarding that. So now that we've established a baseline here of the main thing that makes Expo and linear different, let's really compare the strengths and weaknesses of the two options. So starting off with medium to long range AR fights, which is obviously kind of the bread and butter of controller players, this is actually an area where I think Expo has a clear advantage over linear, and here's why. So as I mentioned, aim acceleration is typically seen as a negative thing because it makes it a lot harder to build muscle memory for aiming, and it also makes it harder to hit shots in certain situations. However, medium to long range AR aim is an area of Fortnite where aim acceleration is actually a significant positive. When you're aiming down sights with your AR at enemies that are relatively far away, most of the time you're only going to be moving your thumbstick ever so slightly to get your crosshair in position. With Expo, that's great because due to the aim excel, your crosshair will move much slower if you barely move your thumbstick, but you also aren't limited to that. If you have two players that are further away and you want to switch your aim from player 1 to player 2 very quickly, you can just move your thumbstick fully in that direction and you'll move at full speed. However, you don't have that same luxury to kinda alternate between crosshair movement speed with linear because your sensitivity is basically going to be going full speed at all times, and that makes it really hard to do these super precise little movements. It's something that I've struggled with a ton as I've been hopping between the two different options. Whenever I play on linear, I feel like in AR fights I'm always moving my crosshair past the enemy's body when I go to adjust to track them. Can that be mitigated a bit by just using a really low ADS sensitivity? Yeah, I guess so, but that obviously presents its own set of problems. However, when we switch our focus to close range aim, this is an area where linear has the clear advantage over Expo. Unlike with long range aim, since the enemy is going to be taking up much more space on your screen since they're up close, aiming is going to revolve a lot more around quick thumbstick and crosshair movement. That right there is one of the situations where aim acceleration really hurts you. It can be really hard to control your aim since you start off really slow and then speed up very quickly. However, I also believe that Exponential players can still be pretty successful at shotguns specifically by utilizing a combination of good crosshair positioning and also by revolving your aim around small movements instead of flicks. And the good news is, at the end of the day, both Exponential and Linear should be better in close range fights than Legacy was, especially when it comes to SMG spam. And that's because both those options have really strong close range aim assist once you get your crosshair on the enemy, and that makes it pretty easy to hit multiple shots in a row. Then, when it comes to building and editing, most people would agree that linear has an advantage, and I do think that's true. However, I don't think the advantage is all that large. Yes, since a decent amount of editing and building revolves around super flicky and quick movement, the aim acceleration of Expo may throw you off a bit. But as someone who's used both pretty extensively over the last week or so, I really didn't notice that big of a difference when it came in building and editing, so take that for what it's worth. Alright, so now that we've gone pretty in depth with the breakdown of linear versus exponential, here are my overall thoughts. I think a lot of linear versus Expo really comes down to your personal playstyle. If you're someone that loves to rush into fights and turns everything into an SMG or shotgun battle, then I would strongly recommend linear for you. As long as you play around a bit with your settings and find a sensitivity and look dampening time that you like, linear is going to make those point-blank range fights feel so smooth and natural. If you used to be a Legacy player, it's going to feel like you're playing a totally different game once you really master it. But on the flip side, if you're more of a backline support AR player, I would definitely give Exponential a very serious look. I was watching Nick Merckx and someone asked him why he used Expo, and he had a really good quote in my opinion. He basically said something along the lines of, "Look, I'm a guy that likes to stay back, deal a bunch of AR chip damage, and then push in when I know the enemy is really weak." That pretty much perfectly describes the best way to use the strengths of Expo. Now, is it true that linear is more popular? Yeah, I definitely say so, but I think that's also largely due to the fact that linear became popular well before Expo did, so a lot of people switched to it back in November, December, and just haven't looked back since. And that's another really important myth that I want to dispel real quick. I've seen some controller players say, "Oh, nobody good plays on Exponential, all the top guys use linear, so that's what I'm gonna do." Just totally untrue. Off the top of my head, I know Wavy Jacob uses it, Unknown Army, Nick Merckx, Bizik, Upshaw, Merc and Cartoon, and those are just the players that I can think of on the spot. There's obviously so many more. I've seen / heard so many different Legacy players say, "At first, when I was forced to switch, I tried linear and it felt so out of control and terrible, but then I switched to Expo and it was so much easier to aim with." That may be something that players struggling to make the switch away from linear should seriously consider. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you watched the entire thing, be sure to let me know with a comment down in the comment section below. Pretty simple one here. If you're a controller player, let me know whether you currently use linear or exponential. Be sure to leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe, turn on post notifications, do whatever the heck you want, and I will catch you guys next time.